doesn't it? So I'm Steve Nichols, Managing Director of Executive Connections. We're a career coaching firm, been around for over 10 years now. I mean, I've been doing coaching myself for quite a bit longer than that, and I'm sure many of my colleagues have been as well. But Executive Connections in its form has been established since 2014, and we work primarily with senior level executives in a career coaching and outplacement capacity. But I would say over recent years, probably since COVID, as much as anything, we've broadened out the levels of seniority of people that we're working with. But the business was started with primarily senior level executives in mind. This series is something we've revisited in certain formats. We've done Zoom calls, we've done LinkedIn audios, live events, and so on. We're going to cover the main subjects. Usually once every 2 weeks, we'll cover one of the main subjects that people have as a particular roadblock or issue within their career. And CV is obviously one of the most popular ones, I would say. Just a quick screen there of some people who've worked with us. There are many, many more of those, but I just wanted those of you who weren't aware that, this is a business that serves people. The people we serve get success after working with one of the team, and that's just a few representations there. If you want to look at that a bit closer, you can easily do that in the recording as well, which incidentally will be sent to you following this session. So we've done lots of surveys and polls and things like that, and is the CV dead? Things like that, and CV still very much forming the basis, the foundations of your own personal brand. I think recruiters still tend to use it, although we all know that LinkedIn is becoming really, really important. The subjectivity I mentioned there, it's most of us, I believe, at least I can speak for myself, are based in the UK. I know there are nuances around including or not including photograph, marital status, other things of that nature that would be, the done thing in certain regions and perhaps not so much in the UK. So we're talking about certain things from that perspective, but we can broaden it out as far as we need to. I also allude to the fact about layout there. I mean, we talk about different styles of layout. I know coaches have got their own preferences. Recruiters tend to talk mainly about having a strong summary, leading straight into the chronological history, whether or not you have a section breaking that up, which is the key skills to navigate the ATS systems and so on. That's a debatable thing, and no particular issue one way or the other if you choose to do that. But you've got to capture people's attention, and we've seen lots of CVs. You see CVs that have been written by somebody for somebody, or whatever the case may be. They just look a little bit too generic. So try and think about what you can do to lift it. Don't use generic language. Just while I'm on that point, it's another thing people fall over on in interviews as well, providing generic answers rather than very specific ones. So talk a bit about summary, talk a bit about how you build on your career history and make it really punchy, and how it all links in with your personal brand. That's what we're talking about today. So one of the things I would say, the executive summary, and again, I think this is on a future on one of the next slides, but different views about this. Some people will say, 6 to 10 lines. It varies. I haven't got a particular sort of word count that I'm hard and fast about, but something that is compelling. And if I could have bolded one word there, it would be compelling as far as that summary is concerned. So when I talk about knockout punches, I mean, if you are able to include, if you're in the kind of role that helps you to bring out, I achieve this in a monetary sense, percentages, things of that nature as well. Those are the knockout punches that I'm talking about. Those are the things that recruiters' eyes are drawn towards on the screen. And I've seen one of these things where they record people's eyes buzzing around a document, and the eyes do go towards the pounds, dollars, euros, etc. signs, as well as the percentages. So bear that in mind. And I don't personally see anything wrong with at least having one of those within the summary section as well. So there it is. I was talking about length of the executive summary itself, but make sure that every word is important. You're not repeating words. You're not putting in generic things. And I don't apologize for using that word over and over, because it is something that people fall down on. I've seen more commercially astute fill in the job title than I care to mention. So people will see that kind of CV lots and lots of times. So just think about how you make it personalized. Next one is a bit of a debate on this, actually, particularly lately, about not having the I. So it would be, you're describing your role, a commercially driven, whatever it might be, individual, CFO, finance director, etc., rather than I am a. So be interesting to hear your views about that. That's also about helping to make things more succinct as well, because it will reduce the word count if you're thinking about it in that way. I think you can still make it human in that kind of context. So just think about what you bring to the market. Not I was a member of the managing board, I sat on the board of directors, etc. What do you bring to the market? What do you bring to the table? The sort of aspirations piece, again, some people do this, some people don't. Bearing in mind, we're talking here about one document, which is your master document, which you will invariably personalize for different roles. And if you personalize it and submit it to a recruiter, they may in turn want to make changes themselves because they know their client more. So, but the piece with the tick on here, the last point, whether you put in, and for that reason, I'm now looking for a role such and such and such in such and such a sector. That's pretty much a personal choice, I would say. It's a given that if you're there submitting your CV, that is the case. So that's one of those debatable points. But some people will put that there if it's a little bit more speculative. It's not trying to be a cover letter as well. It's just making a short statement at the end, letting them know why they got this CV on their desk and what is it you're looking for. I know that you all know about personal brand. It's one of those things that since the phrase cropped up, we can't escape it. But it's relevant. It's just making sure that everything aligns across your CV, your LinkedIn profile, the way that you speak to people, the way that you articulate your value proposition to people. All those things should be aligned, and it should be very, very evident that all those particular assets are aligned, so that when you're speaking to somebody, they've really got a picture of who you are, and they can sort of see it's the same person on the CV, not somebody sounding a bit different. So yeah, make sure everything aligns pretty much. And I think with all those different points about where you have worked, I think one I want to explain a little bit more about there is right in the middle, describe company size and nature. It's something that some people will do. Again, if you imagine a bullet point that you want to express value in some particular way. So with the role initially, I'm saying now. So underneath there, you might put in, I've seen it done in, say, like 9-point italics, maybe. A Fortune 500 organization with 5,000 employees with a turnover of such and such, with branches in globally or these countries or whatever it might be. So just a very small piece that gives the reader the context of the organization that you're currently in, or the one before that, or the one before that. Doesn't have to bulk out your CV too much. It's just a very short mention, that particular one, and people sometimes don't understand that one too much. But if anything here, it's that last point. It's the hard facts, the percentages, the figures that really make an impact with people. If you say, look, I'm in HR, I'm in a human impact kind of role, it's not so much about the numbers. Human impact results are absolutely great. It's just about how you express them. So that's what we do with people. We help people to articulate their value proposition in the most positive way possible. I bet this is something new to you, isn't it? No, it isn't. Okay, so we all know about the STAR format probably. Just whichever acronym of these you use, just make sure you follow it through. And I would say there's an argument there to use that as a broad framework for interview questions as well. If for no other reason that if you're rambling in an interview answer, think about the result, think about the impact you've had, and just close it off with that. But anyway, as far as the STAR method for CV is concerned, I'm talking about framing that sentence in this kind of style, and just keep it succinct. Don't make it too rote, too automated sounding. But if you follow that general kind of path, what did you do about the problem and what was the result of it? That's leading you then into putting your percentages, your dollar signs, your pound signs, and all of that in terms of that particular bullet point. So this relates essentially to your bullet points. But I say again, it can be useful to think about it as an interview aid as well, just to keep you focused. On a CV, I would say, and again, we're kind of whizzed through this, but we're drawing to a close. So remember, I said at the start, think about questions. I'll certainly ask my colleagues for a couple of viewpoints on some of this, in any event. But it'd be good for you guys that have joined and maybe thinking about redoing your CV, or you've got issues with your CV. If you want to ask specific questions about it, that's fine. And as I'll say in a second as well, any other subject is fine. If you've come on here thinking, I want to do more about LinkedIn, don't worry, ask about it, and we'll try and do our best to answer it. But really for here, I've highlighted 3 words there which say it all for me. It's about what have you contributed in the role. They tend to like the recruiters, they tend to like conciseness, and as you go up the pyramid of seniority, particularly, you would expect your communication to be more precise and concise as well. And make sure that your achievements are absolutely emphasized. We talked about the star format just now. It isn't about I sat on the managing board. You don't need that kind of thing. You just need results and achievements in that CV. Think of it as an achievement-based document, pretty much. So look, this may be, I can't see the chat at the moment because I don't come out of full screen here because I might lose something on my view. So it may have already been pasted into the chat. But again, one of the things I explained at the start, I show this screen because people look at the recording where there is obviously no chat facility. So if you've come onto the call and you're thinking, okay, I'd like to talk a bit more about my own individual situation, the top link there is for you. If you are connected to HR and you're here or watching a recording perhaps, then and it's to do with a redundant, an imminently redundant member of staff or something, then the second link there is for you. So I'll leave those there for just a second, but they should be in the chat anyway. So as I said just now, I'll come back in for a bit of discussion. Whoever wants to either raise their hand in the official sort of click on the yellow hand way, or wave your hand. We'll see how we get on with all of that. And like I say, any particular subject is going to be fine. So let me stop that share. I can see you all again a lot better. Right, I can see, I definitely see you all a lot better now. So, okay. Who would like to either ask a question, or if one of my colleagues, I got Sylvia waving at me, that's fine, straight in.
So I do a lot of contract work. So my CV is really, really long. I know that. So how do I kind of condense that without getting rid of the skills?
How long is it at the moment?
Well, it could be 4 or 5 pages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm confident in my colleagues. I've talked for long enough. So I'm going to say, does Rick's waving his finger and Sue's smiling knowingly. So who wants to go first? Go on then, Rick. You have to unmute yourself, mate.
Rick, you're on mute.
I know. Thank you. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Yeah. Okay. Answer to your question, Sylvia. I tend to do a CV that is 2-sided, no more than that. Okay. One very good reason: human being eventually is going to read your CV, and they will get bored, fed up, or they've got other things to do. And so all your hard work is going down the drain. Okay, so it's very important, the way I see it, and I agree with Steve, everyone has their own personal views about CVs. Where I get my clients to have first page with your skills and strengths. You can put them under various headings, you can have bullet points, you can do what you like, but the most important thing is that's the first thing people see. They will read the profile. You don't have to mention your skills and strengths a dozen times, or once is enough, because as long as they see it in your profile, or page one, or side one, should I say, then that's the most important. That's the thing that gets their interest. Side two has where, when, how, responsibilities, things like that. So you can then put in all kinds of other information. But the first thing is going to be your first side. Is going to you're not going to get rid of a lot of stuff. Remember that anything that is more than 10 years old is history. So people don't want to read all that information going back too long. Just the company name. If you work for a well-known company 15 years ago, that's fine. The name's there.
Okay.
Let people work certain things out for themselves, but don't worry, you're not losing your your USP or anything like that. Hopefully, you've got intelligent people reading your book.
Well, I think
On,
that's the problem. I think sometimes
yeah.
with when recruiters call you, sometimes they're too junior and they actually can't work it out, and you have to explain yourself, and that's challenging.
I agree. Maybe you should drop that particular firm of recruiters and try another one. Yeah, I know it is a problem. It is a problem.
Can I ask Susan if she's got any take on that, please, Rick?
So first of all, Sylvia, you're not alone. I worked with someone recently who had a 9-page CV and we got it down to 2. So it's entirely possible. That was the longest one I've seen yet. But yeah, there's, I think, a few things. When, as Steve said earlier, when you're applying for a job, you're looking to tailor it to that specific job. So it may well be that there's some skills that aren't going to be relevant for that one. So you could remove those. I think also make good use of LinkedIn. So I always say to everybody to make sure you've got the link to your LinkedIn profile at the top so someone can click through. But you can be a lot more generous in terms of what you put into your LinkedIn profile. So if there's bits that you're uncomfortable about having removed from your CV, have them in LinkedIn, either in your about section or in your work experience. So if anybody's interested to know that, they can click right through and see that. Also, you've got a cover letter as well. So if there's anything you want to emphasize, you can use it that way. So there's other ways of putting that information in there, even if you have to take it out of your CV. I don't know, and this was a question I was going to ask you, Steve, actually, because I always hear mixed things around this, hobbies and things. Lots of people, when I see, have a big section about what all their hobbies are outside of work. And my view is that's quite a nice thing to have if you've got the words to do it in your CV. But if it's going to be the difference of whether you get invited for interview or whether you don't, your hobbies are probably not going to make that difference. So there might be other areas where you can actually reduce some of the words. I don't know if you have hobbies in yours at the moment, but that's something you could probably take away if you're wanting to reduce the length.
No, mine's long enough it is. I also have, like, I call it the rubbish bin CV, which is like everything I've ever done in my whole life, like just so that I don't forget that I ever did something. And that one is about 8 or 9 pages. It's just like, yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably good. So you can pick out the relevant things and you've got them there. But that's not what you need to submit to for the actual job.
No, I love the comments about LinkedIn particularly, and it just shows how this all links into everything. But it's kind of, there's one other thing that popped into my mind for you, Sylvia, on that point was, and I've never actually done this myself, but I've seen 1 or 2 examples where a person will have a 1-pager, pretty much, a sort of a 1-page overview. And I think it's just taking that could be a possible, just in terms of gauging interest. It could also be interesting, ping it across, if you ping across a Word version, always happy to have a quick look over it and just see if I can see any, or if we can see any themes, any ways of kind of, compressing it a little bit. You don't want to compress yourself out of the market, obviously. Because
it's like, I have a friend who's been at the same company for 14 years, so they just have that one job. But if I've been a contractor since 2009, there's so many companies that I've worked for, under those
Yes.
parameters, which makes the CV so long. If it was just one plain company, then it would be a lot shorter, my CV. Yeah.
I think having something that's a master, and Susan alluded to it as well, about tailoring for the specific role. So you might want to minimize the effect of certain things. You might want to expand certain things based on a certain role. So, but yeah, happy to have a look. No strings attached.
Thank you.
Yeah. Ali, hi.
Hi. Really good presentation, I think. It's really valuable insights in there.
Thank you.
A couple of questions from me. Education and dates around that. Should we be putting when we qualified and the dates around that? I'm just trying to think about how people can think, oh, well, she qualified 20 years ago and that sort of stuff. What's your advice around that?
I'm going to think about it for a minute. If anyone...
like other qualifications you've done. I'm just conscious, someone asked me yesterday, when did you qualify? And I was like, wow, that was odd, and it just showed them an age thing. And I'm like, well, I could have got away with that. And I'm thinking of the age discrimination now and how we've just got rid of dates. And it was on my CV that I qualified 20 years ago. That was like, wow, you qualified a long time ago.
Yeah.
And this was
my sort of gut feeling is you've got to do it, because it will come out. It sounds like you're trying to hide something. It will come out at some point anyway. But it also reminds me of the I think one of the most popular articles or PDFs that we sort of give away is about ageism and the concerns that happen. And it's one of those only areas where I can only say keep the blinkers on, or if you're in the US, the blinders. And just keep going to the next role. Pretty much, it's an interesting one, because it can be overt, it can be subtle, it can be, and what can you do about it? You can kind of start then to have your own negative internal dialogue as a result of that, and that's going to affect aspirations, salary expectations, and it could start to impact on other things. I don't know whether blasting away at LinkedIn is a better option in those kind of circumstances, where again, it's more, people will see if you've got things structured chronologically, people will see, but it's more about you as a brand than a cold CV. So I'm always talking to folks about a pie chart of a job search, and you've got your direct approaches, your speculatives, or whatever. People miss out a big chunk of it. Back to the hidden jobs market again, guys. It's one of those things where, putting yourself out there a bit more on something like LinkedIn can, and it does happen, get people coming to you. So, but I think coming back to your original point and your original question, I think if people are asking those kind of questions, I can't be lofty about it and say, would I really want to work for them anyway? But there is sort of something of that in it, and that just requires so much resilience these days. It's really hard, for people, definitely. But feel free to drop me a line or ping me a DM or something on LinkedIn, and maybe we can have a bit more of an extended dialogue about that, if you like.
That's brilliant. And there's just a second question quickly. Do you I'm quite okay with my CV side, but not on the LinkedIn side, and you sort of alluded to the interaction between both of those documents. So is this something that you advise, or you have a similar session around how to do a great LinkedIn?
Yeah, either way, these kind of sessions, by their very nature, although as you can see, we do try and make them personalized, but by their very nature, they're a bit more generic. If someone's going to become a client of ours, obviously we're going to dig into things a lot deeper. Now there is a facility, that's the link that's in the chat. If you want to explore that possibility, fine. If not, there's plenty of things that I can send you just around, LinkedIn sort of 101 type stuff. But and there's plenty of optimization that you can do and work through yourself, I'm sure. In any event, it's really valuable to do that, though, one way or the other. But for us, it forms part of a process. If you think of a coaching process, there might be a bit about what you want to do, aspirations, things holding you back, CV, LinkedIn, personal branding, interview skills,
all of that,
managing the whole process. That's part of it. That's a very quick overview. But feel free, either we can have a chat, via one of those links, or you can just ping me a couple of questions, you know, on LinkedIn or email. It's not a problem at all.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeremy, for being patient, sir.
No, of course. It's really an extension of Bally's second question, and it's good to hear Susan's perspective in terms of the deeper kind of LinkedIn profile. And that was really a question I wanted to find out from all of you, really, in terms of the sort of consensus house view. I've seen that kind of explosion probably over the last 12 months in terms of people at, you know, similar sort of cohorts, similar calibers to myself, you know, going quite deep on the LinkedIn profile instead of just literally putting the title and perhaps the span of control, but actually going into, you know, the achievements and potentially even the tasks as well. So maybe it's initially a question for Susan on that, given that she raised it before, but it would be great to hear all of your perspectives in terms of how chunky should the LinkedIn profile be for each role? I mean, is it really now that the LinkedIn is the chunkiest format and the CV is thinner, as kind of Susan, I don't want to speak out of turn, but that seemed to be what you were alluding to. Or is it that LinkedIn is more the summary and the CV is the more chunky document? I'd love to get your views.
Susan, please. Yeah.
I'll go first. My view is my view. It may be different from other people, but what I would say is your CV is your CV and it serves a purpose. And I think LinkedIn needs to be something quite different. If it's just a copy and paste of your CV, then you don't need two separate things.
No.
I say the word limit on LinkedIn is a lot more generous than what you would have on your CV. I think that's the opportunity where you can showcase more things. You've got more words available to you. If people aren't interested in it, they will scroll on by. But I think if you've got it there, having said that, I think you need to think about how you present the information on there as well. So it's really easy to read and doesn't turn people off. So using bullet points rather than big, huge paragraphs of information to people to get through. So think about the presentation of it. But what I would say is you do have the opportunity there to put more information than your CV that gives people that extra bit of information and shares a bit more about you.
Just following up on that, would you generally stick to just the highlights and the achievements, or I mean, I've seen people essentially use LinkedIn as now their CV. I'm curious to know what their CVs look like because it's pretty in depth now. What's your view on in terms of exactly what you would highlight?
Yeah, so I think your key achievements in a similar way that put in your CV, but if you're tailoring your CV, you might not have all your key achievements in there. Yeah. Whereas you could have them in LinkedIn.
Thank you.
I'll come to
anybody else? Have you, Rick or Steve?
Yeah, I'll come to Rick if I may.
Okay, right. Okay, it's very simplified. Your CV is a formal doc. Okay, it's boring. That no one's ever given me, or I've never seen. Fascinating. Not fascinating. LinkedIn is informal, and I think your personality can come out in it. Okay, which means LinkedIn allows you to express yourself. You can talk about all kinds of things. Susan mentioned your hobbies or whatever. You can even put those in if you feel like it without, you know, if you're talking about leadership, for example, then refereeing kids playing football is a form of leadership, isn't it? So you can put that in, and that gives people a little, you know, a much better idea of you. So I always say to clients that with LinkedIn, you can throw everything at it and have fun.
Thank you, Rick. Really insightful, very interesting.
Pleasure.
Cheers, Rick. So what can I say after that, Jeremy? I mean, it's I hope you got some takeaways from that.
No, I have, and you've got two brilliant people who gave complimentary but very helpful answers. So thank you.
That's great stuff. I mean, I'd say that for my part, yeah, it is definitely a different format. There's also a different mindset with it as well. I think that some people will still see it as a passive format versus, okay, I can use this a bit like I am a business. I'm on Google. I need to optimize my SEO to get more people to see me. How can I do that in equivalent terms on LinkedIn? So you could do, depending on whether you're, I'm only a Windows person. So if I press Control F on a page, I can see how many instances of the word name your preferred job title appear anywhere within your profile, or any other relevant phrase that somebody might be searching for, which is one way of looking at it. But that's just a profile. You could have the nicest profile, sit back, and nothing's still going to happen. So it's all those other things about, do you start to engage in posts, even your own posts? Do you start to begin that journey? Not, I wouldn't say begin the journey. You're already, senior within your position, but become a thought leader as far as LinkedIn is concerned. That why do all this isn't ego. It's just about getting people. No, say it in a different way. It's getting across more people's radar first, and then having people coming to you secondary. That can be done. That can be achieved. It may well even partially be able to be achieved just by optimizing your profile and then just sitting back. But I think that the more proactive you are, the more you unearth opportunities you never would have known about before. And that's just about structure and programs and what wording to use and who to connect with, and the whole LinkedIn piece, so to speak.
Thank you for that holistic, very helpful answer. Thank you.
Great stuff. Well, thank you, guys. That's good. So, and thank you for the questions. It's been really good. We've still got, where are we? 10:38. We've still got a bit of time. Now, if anyone wants to ask any more questions that hasn't done so far, happy to try to help. Conversely, I would say to Susan and Rick particularly, thanks for giving up the time to attend today. If you think that there are one or two sort of, dare I say, gaps, or one or two things where you've got a particularly different take on this subject, then feel free to unmute yourself and fire away.
Can I just step in quickly? Something we haven't mentioned on your CV, and the same with LinkedIn, is start thinking about your soft skills. I think people tend to forget about that, and they concentrate so much on exactly what that company is. Start, allow your, who you are to come out. It's not what you are, it's who you are. That's my take.
Yeah, I think that's good, and I think that probably that was something that didn't come out, in the presentation per se. It also reminds me of something that someone told me. Maybe it was a CV session, maybe it was to do with LinkedIn. We've done quite a few of these over time, but it was about, and it was to do with interviews. That's right. It was about practicing your interview answers and making sure you've got them off, so that when you get to the interview, it's not the first time you're hearing your own voice speaking the answer, so to speak. So you're listing it down, practicing it, putting that to one side, making it sound more humanistic, like an actor's preparation style to some degree, I would say. And then someone else said, yep, I agree with that. That's fine, Steve. But also I need to be able to speak from the heart. And that stuck with me after that. And I thought, really, a balance of those two things, I think, having strong preparation, having well-rehearsed answers that sound natural and unrehearsed, as well as actually speaking from the heart, is when you get to that point, it's a winner. It's got to be a winner. So
Can I just briefly add something? It goes back to Bally's question, actually, and you mentioned at the start, Steve, about applicant tracking systems, ATS. When I'm working with people, quite often this is a bit of a surprise to them. You might all be familiar with them, but more and more now organisations are using applicant tracking systems as a first step, the CV, and scoring it, often before it even gets to a human. Just going back to Bally's question, I found that a lot of applicant tracking systems will give you a lower score if you don't have the dates in against jobs or qualifications. So I'd always recommend that you have them in there. But once your CV is ready, if you can find a free tool to kind of run it through and see what score it comes out, that can be really helpful. They pick up on lots of things you might not think are very obvious about whether you've put experience, the word experience, before your job, so it actually picks up your job experiences there, if you've used repetition of words, all that kind of thing. So just to make sure that your CV gets into that next section, I think it's just good to be mindful of them.
Yes, Sylvia.
So with the ATS thing, that's what I've noticed. There might be like 8 instances of whatever KYC. And if you don't put enough instances in your CV, then it ranks lower. So then if you put that back in, then your CV gets longer. So you're kind of in this situation of, you know, how do I make it known that I've done that for 20 years without putting it in every single job that I've had? So
That's quite specific. So I haven't heard that you'd be scored down because you haven't put a word in enough times. And the other tricky thing is different organizations use different applicant tracking systems and they all work a bit differently. So I wouldn't get too tied up in knots about it, but I just wanted to put it out there. There are sometimes some really simple fixes in your CV you just might not have thought of putting in there.
Susan, this is a bit of a pedantic question, so apologies in advance, but there's reason for it. When it comes to dates in jobs, and that's, well, particularly jobs, do you have to put down the month? Reason I'm asking the question is, what if there's a hiatus of 6 to 9 months between roles? That's when I tend to just put the year down rather than the month. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a good question, actually. I would say normally the years are enough. Certainly, if it's more historical, I don't know what Steve's view is on that.
Just that if someone spots that, a headhunter or recruiter who knows their onions is going to ask a question, and as long as you are prepared for that question and you've got a robust, confident sounding response in anticipation of that, then that's all you can do.
But what's your advice then? Would you say to actually be comfortable with the gap if it's evident from putting months down, or would you kind of obfuscate just by putting the year down?
I would probably put it as a straight chronological piece in itself, so it appears as it is. I'm all about things that will avoid uncomfortable questions. So if you're putting down things exactly as they are in terms of date and time and any gaps or anything of that nature, then that's more likely to avoid that kind of scenario.
So you'd put the months down. Okay.
Yeah, but that's, as we can all see here, as the great get out, that's just me.
Yeah, no, of course.
I agree. I think months are important. Find more and more people are putting months in, especially anybody who's worked for the Big Four, etc. They put in months. I think we've got to do it. As Steve says, someone's going to ask you the embarrassing question. You might as well be prepared for it. You might as well cushion the blow by having the months. We all know the job market is all over the place at the moment, and there are a number of people, a huge number of people, who have got a pretty substantial gap between jobs, and either it's because you are a specialist and therefore chances of finding the right job are difficult.
Thank you.
Yeah, put them up.
No, it's always good to know that transparency pays off. Thank you.
You have to be honest. They can always find out if you're, telling the truth or not.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time. Appreciate all your input today. And it's always nice when there's a relatively small number of people are prepared to pipe up and ask questions. That's what really makes it count. So again, just thank you all, coaching colleagues and people who've dropped in today to ask questions about CVs and other things. It's kept us on our toes, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks. The title of the next one escapes me at the moment, but it's probably going to be about something like LinkedIn, I would guess. Certainly one of the usual suspects, as they say. So look out for that. That will be promoted on my own profile on LinkedIn. So thank you guys for your time. Have a good rest of the day. And I hope
thank you all very much. Really
see you
helpful.
on the flip side, as they say.
bye-bye.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.